Ew, Critical Rocket here again, and this one was originally going to be today was originally going to be a Lore Warrior video, but Batman Arkham Knight launched, and it's been quite an interesting launch for what was originally, I guess, going to be considered one of the biggest launches of 2015. And as far as the console thing goes, everything seems pretty smooth, but as far as the PC goes, on the other hand, massive fuck up on the part of Rocksteady. Basically, if you haven't been paying attention or to Batman Arkham Knight in particular, or it isn't the kind of game you're interested in to begin with, there is a bit of drama. Outside of people constantly complaining at Rocksteady regarding the preload, which went up on Monday, they were all that was a separate issue entirely, which I'll get onto in a bit. Basically, the game launched yesterday and has not been very well received by I'd say a decent number of PC users. Now, whatever the issues are, it's not been nailed down, but basically, to cover it as a broad spectrum thing, performance is the main problem. The game doesn't seem to be running particularly well on a lot of systems. Rock Paper Shotgun had a video clip of the intro to the game that was all in engine and it was running quite badly, but they didn't give any system specs and they claimed it was on low, but I didn't really see any difference between low and what I'm running on. But the footage that you'll be seeing, or will be seeing, for this is running on my computer, and this is a GTX 970 that it's running on, which is supposed to be 4 gig of RAM, but with the 970 is actually probably closer to about 3.5 gig. On an i5 chip with about 16 gig of DDR3 memory. Now, I don't know whether that's the kind of system you need to run Arkham Knight smoothly. I honestly haven't had any performance issues. I mean, the only time the frame rate will really dip is with the Batmobile, and that's because I've got the NVIDIA. It's like the volumetric smoke particles from the wheels when they spin and they generate this interactive smoke, I think they call it, where it looks really nice when you walk through it and it billows and stuff. It wraps around the character. It looks very good. If I turned it off, my frame rate would be a lot higher. But yeah, I'm not having any problems with it, and I'm actually quite enjoying the game. Now, if you... I don't know, I honestly can't recommend it below what I've got, because that's all I can benchmark it on, but for what I've played so far, roughly 4 to 5 hours worth of gameplay, it's been pretty good. Combat is same old Arkham series, 2-button combat, steady strikes with some counters, and the real sort of complexity of it being thrown in with utilising his gadgets during the fight, and being able to use the environment to your advantage, and being able to quickly move between targets and prioritize and stuff like that. So the combat has been expanded to include things like being able to air juggle opponents, some Tekken style, being able to sort of flawlessly combo into hitting a character who's on the ground. Because in the past, if you tried to strike someone who was temporarily knocked down, you didn't actually hit them, but now Batman will actually sort of do like a stomp or a punch, and then you can actually counter from that. Loads of new animations and stuff. The voice acting and the sound in general has been amazing so far. The soundtrack is great. It's just, it's another great addition to the Arkhamverse kind of feel, and tone's very dark, strong orchestral themes that really fit. They kind of blend in with the Dark Knight Rises, that kind of trilogy of films. Very nice. Kevin Conroy's brilliant as Batman as always. John Noble as the Scarecrow does a really, really good job of bringing that kind of menace, I guess, but also that, I don't know whether it's insanity so much as just like that sort of intent, that Scarecrow has. And the rest of the supporting cast have been pretty good so far. I mean, I haven't encountered the Arkham Knight, the titular villain of the piece. I've encountered other characters like the Riddler and such. These things aren't really spoilers because they've basically been shown in trailers and such, but I'm not going to go into spoiler territory with this, so don't worry. So none of this will be like highlighting any particular thing. There won't be any sound for the gameplay, because originally I was going to record sound, and I realised that there are a number of, as you're moving around the city, you kind of listen in on chatter and you hear you'll hear things from the Scarecrow broadcasting across the bits of the city, and that could kind of spoil some bits and pieces. And I imagine anyone who hasn't gotten into this yet, who may want to be holding back for the performance things, I don't want to ruin any of that first experience of hearing some of the conversations and that. So, yeah. One of the things I'm really impressed with, actually, from the port to the PC version, is if you have a PlayStation 4 controller, if you just plug the charge cable in and use the USB port, works fine. Like, the game will just run as if you're playing it on console. And I have to admit, it's not a game to be used with the keyboard and mouse. I'm sorry, but Rocksteady and your third partner, Iron Galaxy Studios, I believe it is, did a piss poor job with the controls for the PC. They're awful. When you're in a free flow combo and you get the ability to do a takedown move, there's no way in hell that you're going to be able to use Alt and 1 to do a fucking takedown. I'm sorry. In the middle of a brawl, it's just not going to work. Other weird controls like using the left control button for things like being able to dive while you're in a glide to get more speed and the such. And remote control of the Batmobile was assigned to equals, which I thought was an odd key to use. Switching gadgets is okay because it's on a mouse, which is a bit quicker than what the controller can do, but more often than not you're using the gadgets for puzzles than you are anything else, so that's not that big a deal. But yeah, the controls are, I think, pretty poorly optimized. If you've got access to a controller, use a controller. It does work best for Arkham Knight, as I imagine it would have any other games. I played the previous games on the PS3, and I got this one with an NVIDIA code. If you're wondering, NVIDIA did not provide codes to those people who bought an NVIDIA card to get the Harley Quinn DLC. So you have to buy the Season Pass or buy it individually, however many weeks or months down the line that is, before it becomes available for everybody who didn't pre-order from a retailer. Minor disappointment, but not a big deal. Yeah, goes some of the other issues. Yeah, in the graphics settings, I wasn't very happy with the fact that I couldn't turn off motion blur, and it was kind of a shame because motion blur, I feel, is one of those effects that's really nice if you can afford to have it on, but honestly, I just find it's more of a hassle. It just adds extra pressure on your card for no real reason, and it's an effect that I don't really think adds much to the experience. Now, some people have been able to deactivate motion blur without issue by going into the ini file and just setting it from true to false. In my experience, trying to do that, it just causes the game to have a fatal exception, and it just doesn't load. Some people, again, I've been lucky, have reported that doing any changes to the ini file has actually caused the game to completely re-download itself, because it's screwed up so badly that it deletes itself, or at least corrupts itself so badly that it needs to re-download the entire thing. And this is where we get onto the preload issue. A lot of people, I found it amusing, but it's kind of unfair. I know that for some people the internet just really isn't that fast in some places, or people just can't afford to have a very high speed connection. But the game on PC is about 50 to 55 gig, and that's prior to any DLC being released, which no doubt will be a sizable chunk in and of itself. The game as a preload was about 38 gig, so still pretty big. So if it wasn't 30, I think it was 37 point something, but yeah, around about. And that's quite big, and a lot of people were upset on the Friday going before, so let's check the date on that. So yeah, going from last Friday, the 19th onwards, people were not very pleased because people with slow connections were hoping to have the whole weekend to kind of download it in chunks and get the whole thing ready for Tuesday, and the preload went up Monday, and yeah. I imagine there's still some people out there who haven't finished their download for the game yet. Maybe now they're thanking their lucky stars. I found that people did have a genuine case to be vexed by the preload situation. What I thought was very silly and came across as very entitled was the way people were immediately advocating piracy of the game. They were advocating getting a refund. Basically, they were lashing out at people who didn't have an issue with download speeds, and they were, I don't know, you basically were acting like petulant children over the situation. Now, it's a commonly held stereotype that console gamers are the whiny bitches, and then you go onto the Steam forums and it's full of whiny fucking kids. I'm sorry, but PC Master Race and all that, guys, not supposed to be that prone to just having a fit over those things. Yes, it was a big file, and yes, it was Warner Brothers' fault that they didn't put up the preload earlier, but to start advocating piracy, I think it's fucking stupid. If you want companies like Warner Brothers to not treat PC owners and PC gamers in particular as a bunch of fucking pirates, don't do it. You're only going to prove the likes of Ubisoft, the likes of Crytek back in the day with Crysis 1, those two companies in particular were heavily against PC gaming, and cited on numerous occasions that piracy was the reason that they focused development elsewhere onto the consoles. And if you start posting on the Steam forums, I'm going to go pirate this because fuck Warner Brothers and fuck Rose. No, you're not making any difference. Also, it isn't the official forum to be posting your grievances anyway. You should take it to the games forum or Facebook or Twitter so they can actually hear your complaints. No one from Rocksteady or Warner Brothers will ever look at the Steam forum. The Steam forum is trash. I don't know why so many people sit on the discussion boards. Very few developers will ever actually pop over to the Steam forum to let anybody know what the fuck is going on. Always the official forum. And yeah, I do not advocate piracy of these titles, especially in a situation where, let's face it, it's not Rocksteady's fault that some of this shit's happened. Warner Brothers are the publisher. Warner Brothers are the ones who've made the decision. Arkham Asylum and Arkham City were both games that were ported to the PC by Rocksteady. This one hasn't been. This one has been ported by I was going to say Ubisoft, Warner Brothers Montreal, who did Batman Arkham Origins. And that studio doesn't exactly have a particularly great track record, but whatever. It's been done now. Hopefully there'll be performance fixes. So yeah, I wasn't very pleased with the reaction from people. I understand the concern, I understand the frustration. Yeah, it's one of those things that I'm sure if people communicated it on the official forums with the official channels in a way that would have come across as being reasonable criticism, I think, they may have looked at that and gone, oh, okay, fair enough, we made a mistake there. It could have had an issue. It could have had an effect, rather than just immediately jumping onto the fucking all caps threads about whatever. It was just stupid. But as far as the performance issues go, yeah, this is a bad situation as it currently stands. Obviously, we'll have to see when the first patches come out, however long they take to come out, and yeah. So, performance issues aside, I think if you want to play it on Steam, I would say I would recommend it if you think your rig can run it. And basically, if it runs like dog shit in the first half hour, just get a refund from Steam. The new refund policy is there for that very reason. And as far as I'm aware, Steam will have a no questions asked. They will give you your money back. So yeah, if there's an issue, just let them know and you'll get your cash back eventually. But yeah, if you don't have the performance issues, I think you're going to find a really, really good Batman game that rounds out the trilogy quite well. And personally for me, yeah, I'm going to be sinking a lot of time into this. Damn good single player game. Great voice acting, great combat, great mechanics, fantastic looking city, and environment to run around with some fun platforming and driving elements added to it. So yeah, that about rounds it up. Later this week, I'm aiming probably for Friday to have the next Law Warrior up. I'm sorry that's going to be a bit later than I originally intended. But hoping to be able to do the RP one and hopefully have the traditional one out maybe the following day or like a day or so later. But yeah, thanks for listening, everyone, and I hope you enjoy the footage. Any questions, let me know. If you want any specifics about what kind of chip I was using or any of that kind of stuff, I can post it. Just let me know in the comments. And yeah. Let me know if you've had any bad experiences with yourself if you got a copy of your own. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Critical Rocket signing out.